Hello students, hope all of you are doing well. So today we are going to start one new chapter, that is chapter 5, verbs. So what are verbs? Verbs can be defined as action or doing words. Okay. Now this is one of the parts of speech. So for example, like see, the birds sing a cheery song every morning. They bought a new house. Now here the highlighted words are the verbs, because the words sing and bought shows action. Okay, now the kinds of verbs. How many kinds of verbs are there? There are 4 kinds of verbs: finite verb, non-finite verb, transitive verbs, and intransitive verb. Okay, today we will see what are finite verbs, transitive, intransitive verbs, and on non-finite verbs we will just read the definition. Okay, why? Because you have entire chapter on this. We will know about the non-finite verbs elaborately when we will do that chapter. Okay, so what are finite verbs? So a finite verb is a form of a verb that shows agreement with the subject. Okay, now agreement with the subject verb agreement. Okay, that means what? If I use a singular subject, I will use a singular verb with that. If I use a plural subject, I will use plural verb with that. Okay, now number B, if there is just one verb in a sentence, that verb is finite. So if there is only one verb in the sentence, okay, then it becomes the finite verb. Okay, now finite verbs are sometimes called main verbs or tense verb. Main verbs means the action verbs, okay, used to express actions of someone or something. That is an animal, that can be an animal or a person or thing does. Okay, like for example, the monkey jumps. So here the main verb is jumps. Okay, now why it is known as tense verb? Tense verb because it shows tense. Okay, by seeing the verb of the sentence we can understand whether it's written in present, past, or future. Okay, so here I've given you some example, like I offered him some juice. So here the offer is a finite verb. Okay, he arrived home. Again, it is a finite verb. Okay, it's showing the tense. Okay, and only one verb. Okay, now though he offended my feelings, I feel sorry for him. So he offended, so this is also a verb, so it shows agreement with the verb. We can change the verb according to the subject also. Okay, as I told you. So he offended, so here offended and I feel, the words like offended and feel, both are the examples of finite verbs. Okay, now come to non-finite verbs. Non-finite verbs is a form of a verb that does not show tense. So unlike finite verbs, non-finite verbs do not show any tense. Okay, now it is never the main verb in the sentence. So finite verb, as I told you, is the main verb, but non-finite verbs are not the main verbs. Okay, there are 3 kinds of non-finite verbs. So finite verbs do not have any types, but non-finite verbs are 3 types, that is gerund, infinitive, and participle. So under participle we have 2 more subdivision, that is present and past participle. So sometimes we have a confusion in gerund and participle. We will discuss about it. Okay, now come to the transitive verb. But before starting this transitive verbs, let us know what are object. Okay, how many kinds of objects are there? So object in a sentence refer to someone or something in relation to the subject action, okay, or the verb, and they always comes after the verb. Okay, that is why the pattern is subject plus verb plus object. See here I have given you one example, like Simi marked the homework. So Simi marked what? Simi marked the homework. Okay, now here marked is a verb and homework is the object and subject is Simi. Okay, so in the sentence, as I said, Simi marked the homework. So Simi is the subject. Okay, now in this case the action verb, okay, is the what? Is marked. Okay, and it is the homework that is receiving this action, that is, it is being marked. Okay, now comes to the indirect object. Now in order to have an indirect object in the sentence, there must be a direct object. Okay, it's very necessary. Okay, the indirect object is the recipient of the direct object. Okay, or in other word, it identifies means to whom or what action of the verb is performed. Like here, for example, I've given you that John bought his son a present. Okay, John bought a present. John bought his son a present. No. So in the sentence, John is the subject, the son is the recipient of the direct object, that is the present. Okay, so the action buying the present is being performed for him. Okay, now come to the next one, that is transitive verbs. So what are transitive verbs? A transitive verb is the one that needs object to complete their meaning. So transitive verbs always needs an object. It can take the help of it will have a direct object, it will have an indirect object. Okay, but it needs object. Okay, now I admire your courage. She loves animal. So I admire what? I admire your courage. So here courage becomes what? The object, the direct object. She loves animal. Now animals becomes what? Animals becomes the object. Okay, the direct object. Now comes the intransitive verb. So what are intransitive verbs? It does not require any object. Okay, so in the following sentence I've given here two examples. Okay, so in the examples, the words like cry and talk are intransitive verbs. Okay, the baby was crying, we talked for hours. Now these sentences are making sense. Okay, it does not need, these sentences does not need any object to complete its meaning. Okay, if you are asking, means if you are thinking that we talked for hours, now for hours, no, it's not a object. Okay, now intransitive verbs can be of two types: verbs of action and verbs of being. Now verbs of action, I said the action words. Okay, but verbs of being means what? The helping words. Okay, like with support or help the main verb, like am, is, are. Okay, the be verbs am, is, are, was, were, being. Okay, now the baby was crying, we talked for hours. So we talked for hours becomes a verb of action, talk, and the baby was crying becomes the verb of being. Okay, now what are complements? Now complement is a word, it can be a word, clause, or phrase that's needed to complete a given expression. Okay, so here I have given you one example. Lee is weak. Now Lee is the subject, is the linking verb, and what is weak? It is an adjective, so it becomes a subject complement. Why? Because it tells us something about the subject. Similarly, we also have an object complement. So complement can be divided into two parts, that is subject complement and object complement. Here in this sentence, Lee is weak. Weak is a subject complement. Okay, because it's giving more information about, or it tells us something about the subject. Okay, and in the second one, that is object complement, we have used one sentence, that is we voted John as chairman. Okay, so here John is the what? Direct object of the verb voted. Okay, and the noun chairman is the object complement that completes the meaning. Okay, the noun chairman tells us something about the direct object, that is John. It can't be removed because it completes the meaning. Okay, so I hope this much is clear. So today I'm keeping up to this. Feel free to ask whatever doubts you have in the live session. So thank you everyone. Have a nice day ahead.